Hello and welcome to the session today. My name is Warren Ledingham and I'm the General Manager for Asia Pacific for Kryon. Today's session is on the scaling challenge in regard to RPA and process discovery. Now, when it comes to enterprise application software, I believe that RPA has enormous global potential and we're still at the beginning of that cycle. The benefits delivered so far versus the potential is way out of balance. Many companies have started the RPA journey with good results. Now the question being asked by customers, analysts, and the IT industry in general is how do we scale RPA? Today, I will talk you through some RPA scenarios in the context of a GCC, that's a Global Capability Center, show you Kryon's approach to automation, and how you and your teams can scale RPA no matter where you are on that journey. So just to level set here to make sure we're all on the same page, this is a physical robots, and in automation, there's two types of robots. One is a physical robot, and the other is a software robot. Today, we're talking about software robots, and Kryon is one of the leaders globally in automation for software robots, and that's RPA. So this is not RPA, and I put this slide here because I was asked by a very senior executive, how does the robot interact with the keyboard? So obviously here there is no physical robot. We're talking about software robots, virtual robots, and so just making sure we're on the same page. So now the next question is, what is RPA? So RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation, and it is a technology that is used to automate business processes that are currently time-consuming, long, complicated, and typically cumbersome. The processes that organizations choose to automate are usually very repetitive, mundane, and don't require decision making. RPA is developed using a platform by an RPA developer who doesn't need to have a development background. And in Kryon's case, the software is very user-friendly, and that is one of our differentiators. So in the context of NASSCOM and India, we've seen a transition from BPO to GIC to GCC. So BPO, Business Process Outsourcing, GIC, Global Innovation Center, to now Global GCC, which is Global Capability Center. So let's add some context here. India may become the 5th largest economy in the world in 2019, overtaking the UK with a forecast growth of just 1.6% versus India's 7.6%. Achieving that position in the global rankings is a fantastic milestone for India. The NASSCOM data shows that the BPO market is slowing and the GCC market is growing. As long as the growth is faster than the decline, the net is positive, correct? Are there any other macro factors that can impact the growth momentum? Now let's run through a few scenarios in the context of RPA. So in scenario 1, GCCs find a way to rapidly scale RPA and provide significant benefits for their global business stakeholders. They develop global automation centers of excellence, where remote business analysts are distributed throughout their internal landscape and work in unison with the global COE. The number of RPA developers grows rapidly to keep up with the acceleration required from Europe and the US and other mature economies. Enormous amounts of data is crunched in the Bangalorean data centers, for example, providing infrastructure growth and yet more investment to support the capability and expansion of the GCC. India's global business process management leadership is extended and has successfully transitioned, even with the digital disruption, to the applause of global CEOs who had the foresight to invest in GCCs. The media, the government, and almost everyone who understands how difficult it is to ride from one wave and hop over to another, even bigger wave, are in full praise of the genius of this strategic execution. So that's scenario 1. In scenario 2, an alternate situation arises where GCCs see automation as a gradual initiative that gets superseded by big data, blockchain, or any number of other digital priorities. Now remote centers in Europe and the US can no longer wait for the GCCs to scale automation initiatives and quietly take matters into their own hands. They enable broad access to automated process discovery technology that provides a complete picture of their business processes and priorities and increases their automation velocity by up to 5 times. Buoyed by rapid progress, they set up their own automation COE and recruit in-country RPA developers funded by the efficiencies and new revenue streams being created. The GCC in this scenario is in catch-up mode and in the worst case circumvented from contributing to their company's automation aspirations. So there we have scenario 1 and scenario 2. And in these examples, it's very important for GCCs to understand what is their strategy and either embrace automation and drive their internal business, or accept that they may focus on other things and automation isn't a priority and the wider organization will adopt automation. So I think it is a choice for GCCs to make, and it's pretty clear for me that automation is a huge opportunity, and GCCs should take the initiative to support their internal organizations and take a leadership position. So in regard to the RPA journey, what we see here is the typical journey involves enterprises that start with a few processes being automated, and they get very excited by the ROI, the quick ROI, and the benefits the automation brings to an enterprise. But what happens generally is that they aren't able to discover new processes. And what happens is the number of automation use cases levels out, and they're not scaling. And this is a challenge that we see all around the world. And it's not just India, for example. It's a global phenomenon. And also, it's not just one industry, it's all industries. So anywhere that automation is actually being deployed, this is a very, very common scenario. And the data also supports it. So you can see here some data from Deloitte. Basically, what this is showing is that 4% of automation projects are only 4% are more than 50 robots in scale. So what that means is many projects are not reaching a high level of scale. Now, when it comes to the effort and the resources being applied to automation, typically those are being applied, or 70% in this case, to pre-automation. And pre-automation in this context means process discovery and understanding the business process. So that's before the automation. And we'll go through exactly what that means and what the steps are from process discovery right through the automation journey. But you can see here that there's big challenges in the industry. And Kryon is solving a number of these challenges, and I'll explain to you how. So, maybe contrast here between the Kryon approach and the traditional approach that happens today. So normally, a way that a business will understand the business process is by getting a consultant or their internal resources to map business process. And typically that takes place by an interview, and where a consultant or expert comes in and talks to the users and shadows them as they walk through their business process. And that's via the click. They watch the screen. They then they document and map the business process based on what the user is showing them. So that normally takes not only a long time, but it costs a lot of money. So you can see that that's not really sustainable when we talk about digital transformation and the types of competitive challenges that enterprises have today. And we'll go now through the Kryon approach shortly. So what are the barriers to scaling? So we can see here the top 5, again another Deloitte study, and process fragmentation is one. And in this case, this is one of the key areas that Kryon addresses. So by looking at the enterprise and being able to discover processes, we can actually bring those fragmentations together to give you a complete picture of the business process. So some other common ones here is the vision, RPA vision, and really that comes back to planning. I also would say that lack of IT readiness is another one, also relates to planning. implementation skills and costs. So it's having the right skills. And if you look at the RPA landscape today, and most vendors, you need a high level of competence and typically technical competence in order to use the software. So in order to make the solutions work, you need to have a highly trained workforce that can understand how to use the automation. In Cryon's case, it's very easy for business users and also for technical users to get the most out of the software. So resistance to change is common across all, and Kryon is not unique when it comes to this. This is an area where all automation uh, projects and enterprises that start these projects face a challenge here when resistance to change. And typically that's because um, there's a position where, a situation where employees are concerned about if they automate their tasks, then how are they going to maintain employment and also find other options or find other tasks to do. So the best companies in the world are approaching this challenge by automating their business and then redeploying their staff, having them work on high value tasks and actually contributing more widely to the business instead of doing the repetitive, mundane, and the tasks that don't add value to the business. In Cryon's case, the way that we approach the resistance to change, because even though it may not be the top one here, I do think it is a high impact. It does have a high impact to the success of automation projects. And so we work with users and they can either use our tools directly or just experience the benefits of automation that brings from the wider organization. And typically here in the future, what we'll see is that employees will be working together with robots and it will be more seamless. The types of interfaces that we could envision today are things like Alexa, for example, or Siri, or a chatbot, for example. So these are the types of interfaces where we could uh, then interact with automation. And so we as users could actually have many in the future. We could have many robots actually working for us, and they could be doing all manner of different tasks. So my view here is that the the future of automation is hybrid, and it's where people and the robots work together, and you can really scale the automation and the number of robots that you're using, and you'll be basically as a user managing a virtual team. Now let's have a look at the RPA project phases. So typically now we're in a discovery phase. So if you start an automation project, it's the best place to start is understanding the business process. In order to do that, you need to discover the processes. Now, I did contrast the traditional way, and we'll go through the Kryon approach in a bit more detail as we go through. And I would say that's the traditional versus the new way and the digital way with Kryon. So once you've discovered the business process, then you look at deciding which are the best processes to automate. So you're looking at things here like ROI. We can see here the 4 V's: value, velocity, variety, and volume, and the rule of 5 regarding decisions. So that's no more than 5 decisions in the automation for the business process, no more than 5 applications, and the 5 in this case in regard to clicks is 500. So that is less than 500 clicks or mouse actions or movements or tabs, for etc. For example. Then the next is to automate. So you've discovered the business process, you've decided which is the best business process to automate, and now you go through the automation stage. Now, when it comes to the automation here in Kryon scenario, this is the whole flow. So we help you, assist you by discovering, deciding, and then automating the business process, and that's the flow. And typically what you'll find in the industry today, most technology companies that are involved in RPA or automation are only doing the automation. They don't have the full cycle here that we've just walked through. And one of the differentiators also for Kryon here is that we take a computer vision approach. And our IP, and we've got an extensive IP portfolio, is related to computer vision, where we see what the user sees. And this means this is how we can achieve the non-integration to different systems. You can think of it like an over the top or an overlay on top of the business process, and we're looking at the interactions um, on a screen by screen basis. The types of automation, and this may be some new terminology for you, is called unattended robots. So the way to think of these robots is like a network robot. So it's on a server in the network, in your enterprise network, and that's operating 24/7. An attended robot is one that sits on your desktop. Whether you use a PC on a desktop or a laptop, attended robots help you with a typical task that an attended robot would help with is guiding you through a business process. And this is where bubbles would, for example, pop up and tell you and give you different guidance as you step through the process. And it's an excellent way for businesses and managers to manage workforces where you've got different people coming in often. So if you've got a lot of, for example, churn, they call it churn, of people coming through a different for a different task or a different role, then this tended robot can help have a consistent way for people to perform a business process. So it's also very powerful. So when it comes to hybrid, this is the scenario that I mentioned earlier, where the unattended and attended robots work together. So the scenario is that you may be working on a business process, or you may be going through a business process, and then you decide that in order to complete it, you need to do something else, and you hand that off to an unattended robot that's working in the network. It's ready to take the business process, it continues the business process, and then will and can report back to you on the progress and the completion of the business process. So that's how, and that's how, in my view, this is how the automation landscape matures with the people and robots working together, and we call this hybrid, in a hybrid mode. So we've seen there before that at the start of the cycle, many companies here are also spending a lot of time at the start of the process, even before they've automated. So you can see with the Kryon approach that we're looking from the discover to design, develop, deploy, and govern, and look at the whole business process. And it's a much more comprehensive way of looking at automation. So it's not a piecemeal approach, and you're also using one technology suite to achieve the automation. So this is a common question. So which of the business processes to automate? And like I mentioned before, the typical scenario is that companies are just automating the easiest ones first and then getting stuck when it comes to finding out which ones to automate. We at Kryon talk about automating the automation. So basically what that means is that we're looking at the discovery process and automating that, and then moving into the automation as well. So it's a complete picture here. And typically this saves more than 80% of the implementation time. And it really is a game changer when it comes to automation. And you're looking from a complete picture of automation. And so it provides the process visibility. You can see the TCO is strong. We bring in analytics also so you can determine which are the best processes to automate. So you don't need to guess. You don't need to have some special unique way or different methodology throughout the organization. Here you can have a consistent way of discovering business process and determining which are the best ones to automate. And obviously this all leads to acceleration. It leads to also enterprises being able to achieve the ROI faster. And ultimately, if you look at the higher level, it's achieving the digital transformation goals that many companies have, and it allows you to do it faster. And here's some of the quotes from companies around the world. Yeah, so for process discovery, look, I think the 5 times faster for the discovery of automation is tremendous. However, it's not the only factor. If you look at, for example, understanding that fragmentation that was the number one issue when in regard to scaling RPA, we can understand the variations. So Kryon, the technology suite, can understand all the variations. And what a variation means in this case is that the business process, one business process can be done in many different ways. And users may have shortcuts, they may do, and if you take a basket of users, for example, in one department, a sample, then they commonly they may do it the same way, but if certain other people do it different ways, we can also see how they do it. And this is a really important benefit of having Kryon's automation, not only the approach, but also the process discovery. And I'll let you read the rest. Okay, so Kryon process discovery. Now I'm going to play you a video, and I'll play the video because we've talked about in concept what process discovery is and Kryon's approach. But I've got a video here that I'll play, which is also on YouTube if you'd like to look it up. And if you search on Kryon process discovery, you'll find it on YouTube. The benefit of showing the video is that you can see you can take something that we've discussed now, which is abstract around process discovery, and you can see the approach. So I'll play this for you and then come back.
Every day, in every enterprise, employees carry out unlimited processes that could be better executed by a virtual workforce in a fraction of the time. The challenge today is identifying all these processes with minimal effort. Kryon's process discovery delivers an AI-powered solution to meet this challenge. Discovery robots monitor every interaction employees have with their applications and continuously send this data to the Discovery engine to analyze and map every business process. Findings are displayed in real time on the Kryon console, which proposes automation recommendations prioritized by ROI and business results. You can readily see process volume, number of users and steps, variance, average time, and process frequency. Results can be further filtered by date, department, user, application, and more. Once a process is selected for automation, its workflow is immediately shown. By clicking any step of the process, you can see a quick view of the user action and can drill down even further for more information. This workflow covers only 53% of the total actions that were taken by users. Selecting from the list below, you can readily add more variants to see all the different ways in which people execute their tasks and expand the coverage for automation up to 100% of the mapped process. You will also see the amount of time that can be saved by automation. Now, all you need to do is to click Automate, and Kryon Process Discovery turns recommendations into automation. The system immediately generates the automated workflow within the Kryon Studio, leaving you only fine-tuning before assigning to your virtual team. Kryon Process Discovery changes the way enterprises do RPA by reducing overhead, design, and development costs while letting Kryon's revolutionary AI engine automate with almost zero human intervention and faster than ever imagined. Realize the full potential of your company by taking RPA to the next generation. Process Discovery by Kryon.
Okay, so we saw there, this is what we saw. The activity recording of the business process, the translation into computer vision, the algorithm application and machine learning. So that's basically looking at the process and understanding. Remember, there could be multiple users or one user, and making sure that the data is being read and understood and then translated. The process mapping and recommendations, and then process selection, and then we streamline for automation. So this is the complete cycle for Kryon in automated process discovery. So we're going through these steps, we have a complete picture of the business process. So it's very, very powerful, and this is a world-leading technology. So here, and you can read this also, I won't go into it in a lot of detail just for time. You can see, and you can read this in your own time, the scaling RPA is a massive challenge for the automation, as a domain and for all enterprises. So this process-led framework is one that's been developed to help scale and have a plan around scaling. And you can see, if you walk through the steps, a lot of it's around planning. It really is about planning the correct way. And this is one framework to see how you can have a more consistent and a more reliable approach to scaling RPA. Okay, so now a little bit about Kryon. So we are a global company. We're already more than a decade old. We have offices around the world. I'm based in Singapore, managing Asia Pac, and we have a fantastic portfolio of computer vision IP that allows us to create the technology and provide what is leading edge. It is very, very sophisticated software, but it's also simple to use. So we're a high growth company, and I mean we are one of the many companies out there in the automation domain, but we do have this unique approach where we're looking at the overall end-to-end offering regarding automation. So we talked about some of the benefits already. You can see on the right here some of our customers, and this is growing all of the time. So we're literally getting new logos every week, and it's just a tremendous journey so far. And it's, for me, it's a real privilege to be able to work with companies and have a huge impact on their organization. We talked about these already, so I won't spend too much time on those, but you can see the different elements of our suite here: process discovery, the hybrid, unattended, and attended. And so if you've got more questions on that, please reach out to us. And also, we do have a lot of information on our website as well. So in regard to the suite, it is a portfolio and it is comprehensive. So in our view, we do automation better than any other company in the world when you look at all of the elements of automation, and other players in the market are doing different pieces. We are looking at the whole end-to-end automation, and it really is the best way to get significant results, to have consistent results, and to also achieve faster results. So I'll wrap it up there, and I'll just put a website here for you to follow up on process discovery if you'd like to get more information, and please reach out to us. We'd like to be part of your automation journey. Thanks very much.